Welcome to episode 62 of Meet the Gimp. My name is Rolf Steinert and I'm recording this in Bremen, northern Germany. You find this video at the blog at meetthegimp.org and further information about who I am, who's helping me, and so on. And you see here the last blog entry, Up to the Stars, a video made by Philippe. And I can promise you more from Philippe. He is just now busy working on a thing about the 16-bit engine of GIMP. Nobody has seen it up to now, but he will show us a bit about it. Well, I think a bit from the outside and not from the inside. But that will be next week or the week after that. And I'll see that I can get as much as I can out of Philippe. Well, he has a family, he has a job, he has 2 dogs, he lives on a beach on the Pacific coast of Chile, and, well, kids, I think, and, well, we'll see how much time he has for doing this. In today's show, you are in for an email with a tip that I have overlooked all the time, and I'll try to tackle this image here. It is made in the last day of October in 2004 with my first DSLR, which I had then about half a year, and in Nikon D70, and it's 7:30 here in northern Germany. It's starting November, it's dark. This was shot with the highest ISO possible with the D70, ISO 1600, f1.8 and 30th of a second. This is the JPEG directly out of the camera. And I shot at that time, as I do today again, JPEG and RAW simultaneously. And I'll tackle the RAW file and try if I can make it better than this one here. And if you hear ISO 1600, well, let's zoom in. You see here we have a lot of noise, and this will be main part of the problems here in the image. But first, the email. I got an email today from Jim, and he pointed me to a menu entry I haven't seen before. It's Edit and then Fade, sitting here under Undo and Redo. Has to do something with the undo stuff because the icon is the same. Well, let's check what this does. I just take my paintbrush here and paint something. And here, nothing is. It's not possible. Modify paint mode and opacity of the last pixel manipulation. Well, haven't I manipulated pixels here? Okay, let's try something. Let's try a filter. And, well, that's here Gaussian blur. This is a nice one here. Okay, let's take that. And now recheck here. Edit, and here it is. I can now fade the Gaussian blur. And this are my options. I can change the mode, and this mode was replace. And I can say I want to have divide. Well, this was the stuff I had before. Or I can say overlay, also the same I had before. But there are some others, here difference for example, which gives a nice effect. I think there can be found a lot of use for this, but let me go back to replace. And I can change the opacity of this here. Going back to 0, to my original, and going up here with a mixture of my original black here and the Gaussian blur effect around that. This might come handy if you blur an image and want to keep more of the image in there or so. Just now I have no real idea where to use this, but it looks good. Let's have a look at the manual. You know, at docs.gimp.org you find the complete manual for GIMP. And here it is. Fade. Edit menu, fade. Okay, it's usually grayed out, and it's for the fill function and the blend tool, or if you apply some filters. Okay, that's nice with the blend tool. Well, we'll have a look in a moment. It allows you to modify the paint mode and opacity of the last drawable operation. We have seen that. And it creates a blend between the current state of the layer and the previous state. So it's like duplicating the layer and then operating on the top layer with fill, blend or filter, and then change the opacity or the mode of the top layer. And even more, because I found some more modes in the menu than in the layer modes. But with these modes with fill and so I'm not very familiar. Perhaps we have to ask Philippe. So, anything more here? No, this is all the stuff there is, but let's try this again with the fill modes here. So let me check here for the bucket fill tool. This is blend tool with a color gradient or with a bucket fill tool. And let's see, we have here a mode and we have opacity, and I think this is just now a replication of the stuff we could do. Let's change different color here, like this here. Okay, and sorry, here I have to click. I want to fill with the foreground color, and I just click into it, and now I go into edit, fade, bucket fill, and say let's say around 50% and multiply. Thus, keep this in mind. But I think I could have achieved the same thing with setting these modes and opacity here. Let's try this. Just go back to the image here and now change this to, we had around 50 and we had around divide mode, and it's different. Now I have to look into multiply. Did I have multiply? Okay, I have to look into my own video to see what I have done. So this remains a little bit of a mystery, but it's an option that is there and that we can use for making some strange stuff to happen. And if you find something strange in GIMP, just drop me a note at info@meetthegimp.org. I think I know about 10% of all the options in GIMP, and sometimes they are very strange and sometimes they are really helpful. Ah, by the way, Jim, I promised a photo shoot for you, but up to now either my eye wasn't working really good or the weather was too bad. So it will come in one of the next editions with a photo shoot showing the zone system and starring something here in Bremen that Jim is very fond of. I've opened my image in UF-Raw, and now let's try what we can do with it. First I check the basic settings here. Here. I have the right camera profile. Oh, and I have to check here, use color matrix. And, well, it looks better. Let's see where we do this. First here, don't touch the white balance. I'll keep the curve the same here, basic adjustment curve. This is used for a lot of images, if you process a lot of images, or if you have curves for special situations that you want to load again. But now let's look here. Saturation and luminosity. And I think the saturation is okay. I can get it a little bit higher. I don't want to get into an area where it looks like a comic. Well, perhaps later. But I want to do a bit of curves. I want to have the dark stuff darker. Definitely darker. And I want to pull up this here. Now I get some definition here in the sky. These lights get brighter, and somewhere here I have a point where it's right. I can look for the black point. When I pull up the black point, the image gets a bit darker. And I have to decide now which impression do I want to give? Night or evening? And I think this is quite nightful. Is there a word like nightful? If not, I now have officially invented it. So I think this could it be. Let's look how much we have overexposed here. Now all the overexposed parts start to blink, and okay, it's to be expected. The lights in the cabin and the lights at the shore are blinking. Okay, I think this was it for the basics, but we have one more option. We have the option of reducing the noise. But first let me save this version of the image without noise correction. And after a small mistake while saving the image, I'm here again. I had to redo the settings. I hope I have got it right now, because I clicked on save and not save as. I'll come to that in a moment when we save the image again. Let's look at the noise. Here is wavelet denoising. I have really no idea what wavelet denoising does, except it's really high math. Well, okay. Not so important for me to understand what exactly happens there. But let's look at what it does. I just zoom into 100% here. And you see we have a lot of noise in this image. The noise is nasty in the sky and on the water. Here you see a little bit of noise in this grass, but I think this will get a bit darker in the final image. Okay, and then we see a little bit of noise here on the ship. But if you remember ISO 1600, and if you think what a film would do with ISO 1600, and on the other hand what today's cameras do at ISO 1600, noise is really nothing to complain about. Joel has done a nice thing about that. Let's talk about noise. And of course, one of the good resources for that is Joel's site about Linux photography at jconnu.wordpress.com. He has a little series about noise, and I'll point to that in the show notes at meetthegimp.org. And, well, he comes to the conclusion that noise is a thing to live with and not to complain about. You have to do the best you can do. and I think he is right. When I remember my film days, I made images mostly with black and white film, and I had one with, was it 25, ISO 25, and one film with ISO 100. And from time to time I bought a film ranging in the breathtaking range of ISO 400. And this ISO 400 film, it could be boosted with special treatment, diluted developer, I think, if I remember correctly, a little bit warmer than usual, and developing longer than usual. You could boost it to 800 or 1600, and with 1600 you had images, well, they looked like newsprint. And today, if I switch my camera, my D200 to 1600, well, it was 1600 ISO, then I get images that are noisy, but they are way better than that stuff in the past. So let's try what happens when I pull this slide up. Let's do the way I usually do such things. Let's do it ridiculously high. And I hope there's a preview. There is a preview, yes. And now I get a plastic image. You see here we have no noise, but we have lost here all the twigs and here all the contours. And now I'm just going back to a value where I can say, okay, this is okay. I can live with that much plastic, because, well, I have to find a balance between noise and detail. If you reduce noise, you reduce detail. And let's look for a point where this is the noise is not as bad as it was and the details are there. And I'm looking at the areas here and not at the edges, because I want to mix these two images that I have done. I want to do one without noise and one with the edges, and combine them. So this is the noise is starting. Let's get a bit higher. You'll see not that much about the effect here, because just now I'm recording in 1200 by 900, and you are looking at 640 by 480. So I'm just zoomed out a lot more than you can see. The UF-RAW window is so big it can't fit in my usual recording window. I think I'll try this here. 343. And now I go to Save As, and I save as NR, noise reduced, and I click here on create an ID file also. Then I get an additional file with the settings from UF-RAW. Okay, let's save this, and then look at these images in GIMP. And here we are in GIMP with two layers here. The background layer, the original image exported by UF-RAW, and a noise reduced layer. You see also here the noise reduction. It takes a lot of details away. You see it here and here. And now I do something that I always forgot in the show. I save as ship.xcf. Forget this TIFF stuff here. Always save your stuff you're working on as XCF file, because XCF contains all the relevant information for GIMP. And if you give it away, not as an XCF, except if the other person is working with GIMP, if you want to give it away with with all this information, and perhaps you can save it as a layered TIFF or something, or as a Photoshop PSD file. But normally for giving away, you would flatten the image and export it as a JPEG or as a TIFF file. So, but now let's zoom into these files here, and let's have a look. Now I'm at 100% zoom, and you see we have really smooth clouds here and really smooth water, but we are lacking a lot of detail. And if I click this away, we have a lot of detail, but we have this noise. And is there a registering problem? There is a registering problem. I don't believe it. This is the same file, the same raw file, made with the same program, and it doesn't perfectly register. Okay, then we have to work on that. Just go down in the opacity here to about 50% or so, and then we zoom in really strong. Let's look somewhere where there's a good border to see. Now let's have a look. Yeah, it's shifted to the if it's shifted to the left, then the top layer is shifted to the right. Okay, I choose the move tool, click into the image, and click on left. Okay, I don't know if this is intentional, but it seems that there was an offset of 1 pixel between these two layers here. GIMP or UFRAW, no idea. But you see, it's easily fixed. And you see here the difference between the two files at 560% magnification. You see here a lot of noise and some sharp details here, and you see here smooth stuff, a little bit of this called chroma noise, these different colors, but not as noticeable as it was. And here you see the twigs denoised, and here sharp twigs but noisy water. My general plan is to use this noise reduced stuff as a background, and then to take the edges, which are lost now here, from this, which is now called background, which I renamed to noisy, or let's call it edges. And now I want to have the edges on top of the noise reduced stuff, and I have to add alpha channel, because otherwise I can't make this here transparent. I need a layer mask for this layer here to keep the edges and to discard the areas. And for that there's a function named edge detect. I just double the layer and go to filters and edge detect. There's one I think that is best for this, neon. This is a filter that well, it's I think more artistic than anything, but it looks for edges and assigns a color to them. It should simulate a bit of neon lights. I played around with the values here. I took my my little bush here in front of the ship, and I found that this combination here was best. If I go up, it gets too hazy. If I go down, it's too weak. And so let's simply keep it here about. If I go up with the amount, it gets stronger. I think this is alright. Let's check the chip here and the horizon. You see, this should be okay. I click OK, and now we get the edges. Nice image in itself. But you see, we have a lot of noise here in the sky, and this noise is all red. You see here, this is red. There's not much structure visible here except this stuff here. I just click it off. You see here the sky. I want to keep this here, but let's see if it's possible. So this red stuff is simply annoying. What to do? Well, we go to the channel mixer and reduce the red stuff and keep, I think, the blue at least, or perhaps the blue and the green stuff. Let's have a look. I go to Colors, Components, Channel Mixer. Here it is. I want to have a monochrome mask, of course. I click on monochrome. You see here. Let's zoom into the image and have a look at the detail I want to keep here. You see nothing. I go down on red and go up on blue. This looks definitely better. We have the edges that I wanted to have. Now I go up a little bit on green. I don't know if this is really helpful, but well, let's keep a little bit of the green stuff in here. Can add a bit of definition. Let's look at the sky. The sky is simply dark. Perhaps I have to work there with the pen. Okay, let's just do it. Now we have this here, and if I apply this, I wouldn't become very happy, and so because these are harsh edges, and so I apply a blur here. Gaussian blur. Just go here and I think this is okay. This is a good starting point, I think, and with this mask, with this stuff here, I can edit the mask, or add the mask. I select everything here, Ctrl A, Ctrl C for copying it, make this layer invisible, go to here, say add layer mask, white, click into the mask and say Ctrl V for adding it at a floating selection, and now I say anchor the mask, and here it is. If I make the noise reduced stuff here invisible, you see only the edges are visible now. Well, let's have a look. Let's concentrate here on these edges, with and without this level, without this layer. You see here mushy edges. With this layer you see definition in the twigs, and well, you see not that much noise. Here the water with the layer, without it. And let's have the other check here. I say disable the layer mask, and you see here we have a lot of noise here, and we have structure here. Let's see if this structure survives. Well, not that good. Perhaps I have to paint over there too. I think you've got the basic idea. Just get an image which is noisy and take the borders from there, and take another image which is denoised and has lost a lot of detail, and take that for the areas. So here are the two images, and this is the one without the noise. And These here are only the edges. I can discard this here. Oh, I'll keep it in there because I'll publish this file here. I'll reduce it in size for getting a smaller file size, and then I'll publish this. And you'll find this and the original NEF file at meetthegimp.org in the show notes for this episode for download. So for fine-tuning, I simply double this layer again because I want to keep this one here and not work destructive on that. And I just replace this layer mask with pure white. Check, I'm working on that copy, and I'm just pulling the white into there. And I should have taken black, of course, because I want to hide everything and just pull it up from there. So black. Ah, well, just a reminder for the working of the layer mask for Herrn Steinort. Here, especially for Eurolf, black hides and white reveals. So, and now let's paint. I select a brush, I select black and white and change foreground, background. I want to paint in white on this here. I select a soft brush because I don't want to leave traces all over the way here. This looks good, a bit larger. And I select the pressure sensitivity for my Wacom board to opacity. So if I press soft, I'm painting soft. If I press hard, I'm painting hard. And the rest I'll keep as it is here. Perhaps even a bit larger. Okay, where do we have to do work? Let me just increase the image size a bit here. I wanted some definition here. Oh, sorry. First I have to check if I'm painting on the right stuff here. Yes, I'm doing that. The white border about the edges copy here, let's rename this. Edges, fine-tuning. And this here, edge mask. So the white border here says I'm painting on this here and not on this or somewhere else. So I wanted a little bit more detail here. And perhaps you can see it even in the video. This is coming up here with a little more detail. And a little bit too much noise. So X for changing the colors, and I think I have to do another thing here, and that is I have to go and just reduce the opacity of my pen here. Let's have a look at the mask I've just painted on. You see here, this is way too strong. So let's just fill this all with black again and start over. Okay, I don't want to show the layer mask. The green border said I show the layer mask. And now let's have a look with a little bit less opacity. Yeah, this is better. So here comes the fine structure. Here I was too fast. There is no structure in here but noise. I'm painting over in black now, just typed X, X again back to white. A little bit more detail. Perhaps here the chip is central and to this whole image, and it should be sharp, as sharp as possible. And I think a bit noise in the chip isn't that critical, because it's a technical structure, and you expect some jitter or so in the technical stuff here. So I think that area is okay. This is okay, I think. It's a little bit around here, around the windows, to get them sharper. And perhaps we'll do a sharpening later on. Now let's look at the sky. This will go. I think I should emphasize the sky a bit. There are some areas in the sky where I don't mind. No, not that much noise, please. And perhaps I should do this with dodge and burn later on. The noise in the sky becomes visible instantly. Paint over this. Well, yes, I'll tackle that later. Okay. You see, this is live on air here, without that I have done this before. Let's check the whole image, and I think it's okay now with the noise. The areas where I wanted to have more structure, perhaps here. Yeah, definitely here. Okay, this gets boring. I'll look around. So I think I'm through now, and let's have a look. There's a bit of a halo here. Just let me take the magnifying glass here. We have a bit of a halo around this edge here, but I think it can't be helped. I really don't know what to do about that. But otherwise, the mixture between the edges, let me just switch the edges off here, the enhancement of the edges and the denoised stuff is good. Now it's time to think about what to do with the rest of the image. And there is a thing that I should have checked before, and that is if I need to rotate this image. And I think I have to do it a bit. If you think here, this is, I think it's tilting a little bit to the right, but the normal tricks don't work here, because we don't have somewhere a really vertical line. So oh, we have a vertical line. We have here some lights and a water surface, and as far as I know my physics, this should be straight. And let's have a look. Okay, it's a little bit tilted to the right. Let's correct that. Just remove this here. Go to I'll give you back your GIMP window here. So I go to rotate. I of course lock all these to rotate everything, and then I go rotate, select corrective. So let's see, I go to rotate, select corrective, select cubic, the grid, and I have to increase the grid lines, I think, a bit. 66. Now I just click into the image. You can increase the grid lines a bit more. Now I just align the grid lines with my lines on the water and the light on top. You see here, this is okay. Well, about this, 1.34 degrees. Just click on rotate, and now it takes a time because it has to rotate all the layers. I hope it does. Yeah, okay. Just before I had the layer mask selected, and of course it rotated only the layer mask. Let's have a look at the whole picture. I think this is better. And now, next question, how to crop. And let's do an inside-out crop. Inside out means I select the stuff that has to be in there, and that is, sorry, switching this up, this is the ship. What do I want to include? Just making this bigger, Shift Control E gives me the whole image. I don't want to have much of this here, especially not this bright light here, but I think up to there. I want to have the shore here. Is it a river shore? Right word? And I want to have the sky. The sky has to be in there. Now I'm coming here to the third line, and I want to have this nice area here. There's a little harbor for sport boats here, and on this side here the Weserstadion. Perhaps if someone is following Werder Bremen, he knows of this side of some miracles and some tragedies. Okay, I can hear the roar from here, by the way. But up here, and let's keep the sky in here. And I think this was it. Click, and here's my crop. Save again. And I think everything else that has to be done with this image is stuff for next week. Before I say goodbye, I want to point you to the forum, where a lot of stuff is happening just now. It's reachable at forum.meetthegimp.org. And if you want to comment on this episode or on the whole show, just go to meetthegimp.org and leave a comment there, or write me at info@meetthegimp.org. And I think this was it really, and I say goodbye up to next week.
photocastnetwork.com, your photography resource in the potosphere. photocastnetwork.com